Hey there everyone, my name is Hitesh and buckle up. In this video, we're going to discuss about how the Appwrite can talk from a client component, can talk from a server component to the Appwrite. And there are SDKs available from the Appwrite. We'll be using them heavily. Not only that, I will also walk you through that where can you read the exact and precise documentation, which is really amazing, and it's not available on the Appwrite documentation website. It's actually somewhere else, and I'll walk. It's actually easy to find, but not a lot of people have discussed that. So I thought, hey, I'll go ahead and discuss about this unique hidden location about the Appwrite documentation. In this video, let's get started with that. But first, go ahead, hit that comment section and just say looking forward for the next video. Again, not a big deal. We're just looking for 90 comments on this channel. So in this video especially, please go ahead, help me out. I would be super thankful for you on that. In case you're watching this video somewhere else, please come to my channel and post a comment. That's all I'm asking. So let me just share the screen with you and discuss all the things that we need for this one. So let's handle first of all the easy part of it, because I don't think we require anything else and we have everything. And again, I have written this code probably a number of times. We are going into the client and we are going into config, and the way how you write the config in the whole thing is super easy. So let's just go ahead and say I want to have config for quick start is also there, auth is there. Even in auth, everywhere you just go ahead and look for getting started guide. It's almost exactly the same. Account API. Yep, this is exactly the code, and this code is written on probably hundreds of places in the app, right? This is exactly what you need. This is exactly what we'll be needing. Why not just copy and paste this and just modify it a little bit so that we can work on. So first we'll just paste it as it is. We're not worried about that. First of all, let's go into name.ts, because I want to keep all the names to be very standardized. So I'll be just exporting them. This is almost like my constant file. So just keep it up there. I'll go ahead and say export const, and we'll be calling this one as DB. So what do you want to name this DB? What should be the value? So I'll be calling this one as main stack overflow, stack flow, whatever you want to name your database. And then I'll be saying that what should I name my questions collection? So I'll be just going ahead, I'll go ahead and say this one will be question, and I'll call this one as, question collection, because it's easier for me to refer them as question and question collection. I don't want to get confused. So I'm calling them as a variable as question collection, but in the DB, it makes sense to have call them rather questions would be good. So similar to that, we'll be calling this as answers, and this one is going to be answer collection. There we go, answer collection. Similarly, we have comment as well. So we'll go ahead and say this is my comment collection, and this one will be comments. Okay, we have votes as well. So we'll be having votes, and this one will go ahead and say vote collection. We'll also have some of the attachment as well. So let's call this one as, what should we call this one as? Question attachment bucket. Yeah, that's a good name, fairly good name. And here we'll be calling this as question or questions, question attachment. Naming is still difficult. So there we go. Now that we have all the names and we are exporting them, now we can use them wherever we want to. It's not really that we are going to need it immediately, but if we need it, they are available for us. Coming back onto the config now we can see that what all we need. We can see that there is a set endpoint and set project. So these are going to require some of the environment variable. You can just load them directly from environment variable, but I can load them from env, which I imported like this. So /env. I think it was inside the app. I thought I made it the env.ts inside the app. I'll love to keep it inside my app, because rest of the thing can go outside. Inside the source, I'll just go ahead and move it to the app. Again, totally up to you where you want to keep it. Update the imports. Yep. Again, totally your decision, your call, where you want to keep it, move it. I think I'm happy with this in the environment.ts. Anyways, not a big decision. Okay, we'll be needing client 100%, we'll be needing account 100%, we'll be also needing avatars. Avatars are exactly like images loading, but they are a little lightweight. Appwrite automatically gives you a lightweight image for that. We'll be needing databases for sure. We'll be needing storage to store, upload all of this thing. And that will obviously come from the Appwrite. Now the step one is to create a client. I sometimes do this mistake of not creating it properly, but here we go. And in here, we need to provide an endpoint, which is a URL. So super easy. We can just go ahead and say env.appwrite. And this is endpoint. There we go. Super easy. And TypeScript safe. And then we need the project ID. So again, same goes up here. Again, good practices. You can load them directly from environment variable. No such big deal. Appwrite.project ID. There we go. Nice and easy, safe. And now we are creating an account from this one. And then result. We don't need to get a result. We don't need to have all of this. We'll be just going through one by one. So first of all, just like we have created this account, you can go ahead and create a database instance as well. So databases, this gives you access to all the databases that you have created in this project ID. So that's why it's called as databases. And this will be new databases, and all you have to do is give it a client. That is, so you have database, you have account. Similarly, you can go ahead and get avatars from it. So let's go ahead and say avatars, and we'll remove this avatars. I have to write that. And finally, we have storage. So we'll go ahead and say storage. This one will be storage. There we go. I guess we'll need only account, database, avatars, and storage. If we'll need anything else, we can always come back. Now it's time that you export all of this, and that's it. Your front end can now talk to any point in the database. And we'll be saying export. We'll need to export the client. We'll need that. Client will need databases. We'll need account. We'll need avatars. What else is remaining? Storage. Yep. Storage. So there we go. Told you it's super easy, and it is exactly same. Just like the Appwrite doc says, if you need account, just go ahead and export the account and use it wherever you want account.get or whatever you are using. Similarly goes for the database. You'll notice that this is exactly same in the database. They just says database, get the client. In the storage, exactly same, storage client. And this exactly same is a good thing. It's a consistency in the database. I like that. All right, so this part is done, and we can now just go ahead and close this. Names are done, configs are done. So there we go. Close this inside the models. The client is all done and all set. We can use it wherever, whenever we want. Now going back onto the server. So how the server is going to talk? First of all, we need to do the configuration for the server. It's not like we can just use it. And you might be wondering, hey Tesh, can I go back and just like my client talked, I can go ahead and copy this and go into config and paste it? Technically, yes, but that would not be server to server call. That will be routing through the front end, and we don't want that. Some of the things we want to talk to the Appwrite directly from the backend side. And for this, we need to go into the Appwrite docs and have to go into back in the API reference. We have SDKs as well. If I can find it. There we go, at the top, SDKs. And you can see we have web SDKs. No, we don't want web. We want the server ones. So these are all client SDKs. You want to talk to from the Flutter, from the Android, React Native. You can do this. Here you go with the server SDKs. So via the server, if you want to talk via PHP, Ruby, all of that, we'll be obviously going through with the Node SDK. So this is the one we want. And the interesting part is this documentation still is on the GitHub. Surprise, surprise. And the installation guide and everything is up here. So we can just go ahead and install the Appwrite. So let's go ahead and do that one by one. We don't need this -- save. All right, so this is what we need now. So we need SDK require and all of that. So we can just go ahead and copy paste this one. We don't need self-signed and all of that. I'll remove all of this from here because we'll be needing the environment variable. By the way, I just copy pasted it to show you. It was not meant to be there. So environment, yeah, we'll need that, and we'll just copy paste the rest of the stuff. So first, SDK require. Nah, I'm not happy with this syntax. I'll brought in my own stuff. It's not easy. I can just destructure the things on the go by saying this syntax. We're anyways using this syntax. And this one is going to be Node Appwrite. Now what more we want to bring up here? Obviously, we'll start with the avatars, all the things that you brought up there, and the client. And the confusing part for the beginners is client For the front end, client is just an instance. It's a rope that you're fetching from the Appwrite. That's it is. So we're getting client and we're getting databases. We are getting storage, not this one, storage, and we'll be needing users. We'll be talking through the users from the back end itself, not from the front end. And now the client, we won't be going with the client like this. We can now go ahead, we have destructured it. So we can go ahead and say client equals client, and client will have a set endpoint, set project, set key. We don't need SSL certificates. It's database to database calling, SSL keys. SSH is not that much, not SSH. SSL is not that important as of now. And I can just go ahead and grab env.appwrite.endpoint. Yep, nice and easy. This one is project ID. Told you, it makes our life so much easier. Suggestions always. And TypeScript is a pro in giving suggestion. This is project ID and the secret key. Let's go ahead and say env.appwrite.api key. There we go. So all the suggestions are being incorporated, nice and easy. Now all we got to do is same stuff via the client. We can just initiate that, and this is where I say Appwrite docs are so good. I can just literally copy paste all of this into this because rest of the stuff is same. The only difference that's coming up is some stuff are going through Node Appwrite, some stuff are going just with the Appwrite. All right, so we don't have account. All right, so we have database, we don't have account. We can just remove that. We have avatars, we have storage, we have users as well. Const user, users, and that will be new users, and that will also have a client as a context. And then we can just go ahead, copy this and paste it. There we go. We have a client, database, storage, users, avatars. Okay, looks good. So there we go. First part is solved, that we have gone through with all the configurations and stuff. So I think that's a good start. Now let's see that how we are going to model the database. Once we model the database, then we will go through with setting up a seeding of this one. Let's start with the questions because that is the most complex of all that we have as of now. And I'll walk you through with one of the bugs that I faced. Probably that's not there right now, but hey, it might be there. All right, so you might notice that how can I actually go ahead and create a database onto this one? So we have a lot of options and a lot of ways how we can do that. For example, you might notice that here it is. If you want to create promise users, you can create the users like this. Similarly, you can create any collection. And obviously you want to read more about the docs here. So where to read them? You have to go into the docs/example. And in these examples, you can see there is a documentation for almost everything that you want to work with. For example, I want to work with the database. And inside the database, what do you want? You want create collections, you want create a document, however you want to go, you can just go ahead and work with that. So let's just say we want to create a collection. So let's just say create collection. So this is what they mentioned. You can use databases, which we have already created through the client, and we can use create collections. Inside this, give a database an ID. We can just go ahead and create an ID. Create a collection ID, and inside the collection ID you can provide name, you can provide a permission of read any. In the Appwrite there are two types of users that they give you directly. One is any, another is UZ. And any is anybody can read from that collection, and users are somebody who is logged in. So based on this you can just go work with that. Then the permission, if you have permission to create true, false, however you want to go that. Document security enable most of these features. It looks a little bit tedious and difficult to study at first, but as you will go through with this tutorial especially, you'll be able to do all these things nicely. One thing which I find problem is creating the index. So I guess there is a video, I saw that somewhere here, get index. I need to search that. So there is a delete index, there is a create index. So this is the portion where I found a little bit of the trouble in creating the index. Probably I was not doing it right, but I'll also definitely walk you through. I'll walk you through how to do it. I'll give you the code base of it. And at the end of the series, we'll figure it out whether that's good or not, is it working or not. And again, you need index, create index. Anyways, I'll walk you through with that. So there we go. This is how to read the documentation. Now let's go into this collection and see how we can work with that. So we'll be importing a few stuff from Node Appwrite, that's obviously, and we can just get it on the go. So no need to fill it up here. We'll be also grabbing few of the names here. So we'll be saying that grab a few of the names, one directory back and name. What else, what the names you want to grab? I obviously want to grab a name of the database. I'll also grab a name of question collection, and that's it. And we also need to, since we are creating a database collection, we need the configuration of the database. We can go ahead and import that too. And that will come up from /config. I have created my configuration up here. Whatever you need, just import that only. So in this case, we are working with the databases. No need to bring up the storage for this one. All right, let's get a little bit of room for ourselves. Now, how do we create these questions? That is the difficult question. We have to figure it out. But once you see, you'll notice it's a copy paste syntax again and again. You can work with that. So I'll go ahead and say export default, and it's obviously an async operation. Database operations are always async operation. We're going to call this one as create question collection, just like this, classic JavaScript functions. All right, so first of all, we're going to go ahead and we'll work with a create collection. So how we can do that? Obvious step is to await that it's a database operation. Use your instance of the databases from the configuration. And then as soon as you put a dot, it gives you a help. VS Code is really nice once you have installed it. If these suggestions are not coming up to you, go ahead and reload your VS Code. Then there are a lot of options, create document and create collections and whatnot. In this case, the important one for us is create collection. Now create collection will show you that what do you need. First of all, I need a database ID. That's why I've stored that in the name so that I can bring it anytime. I don't have to retype it again. There we go, DB. Then what do you want to call the collection ID? In this case, I'll call this one as a question collection. So there we go. Question collection is being created. All right, then the next step is question collection. What do you want to name it? I guess collection ID. So I think that's the same. Database ID, collection ID, and then we get the name of it. Let's call it this one as question collection as well. We'll see and figure it out. Then requires is the set of permissions. This one is interesting. So permissions. Now permission depends on what do you want with the questions. I want anybody can read the questions on this, but only the logged in user are allowed to create it, update it, or delete it. So how to do that? First of all, this permission. So permission actually comes up from Node Appwrite. So permission, once I have this permission, I can go ahead and say permission. And I want that read information should be by any. So in this, you can just provide a string of any. I'll walk you through that where it is and how it looks like. So just go up here, and what you will notice is, let me just go back into the settings. There we go. These are the roles. You can create as many roles as you wish. By default, there are two roles, any and the users. Users are who has logged in. Any is somebody who is anyone who is visiting your website. But there is no shortage of it. You can just click on it and add role for the guest, for selected teams. If you're using role-based access, that some team is teacher, student, admin, something like that, you can go ahead and do that. So you get the idea how it is there. And again, everything is lowercase. That's goodness. Then you can go ahead and provide that who can read further. So I'll just go ahead and do users should be also allowed to read. So we'll be saying users. And again, this requires a comma. This also requires a comma. There we go. Rest is pretty simple and pretty obvious. So we can just go ahead and say create, read is already there, and update. And there we go, delete. There we go. So anybody can read from this questions collection, and users can perform all the CRUD operations onto this one. So hopefully once this is all done, let's do a console log that question collection is created. Question collection is created. All right, this is where things are there. Now let's go ahead and create the attributes and index. So this is what we have done so far. A collection is just created. Now inside that collection, we need attributes. Let me walk you through again how this looks like. So notice here, this is my collection. So words is a collection, and it has all these features, whatever we have mentioned. Now we need to create attributes and index inside it. This is how it looks like. So whatever the attributes you have, for example, in our questions collection, we figured out that we'll be going with the collection of attributes of title, tag, content, author ID, attachment, and we have all these variations of the enums and whatnot so that you get a brief idea about it. Indexes, this is where I faced a problem, so I had to manually create it, but I'll walk you through that how the code actually looks like. Probably we was not able to create it, but again, you can later on do it. So this is our first part. Let's go and move on to the next part, which is creating attributes and indexes. All right, how to create these attributes? So attributes are usually created on the one go, but you have no idea that on what order they'll be creating. So it sometimes is difficult to create these attributes, because when you create manually, you can just click on one and click on one. In such scenarios, our best friend in JavaScript is actually promise. And in the promise, we can use a .all so that however it can actually do all of this. We'll be using an array of all the promises so that we can just provide all the values. So first of all, let's go into databases. Again, the long process is there. Databases, but it's repeatable. And we'll be using create, not comma, dot, create attributes, no suggestions. Probably create string attributes. So you have to mention that. So again, we will be having database here. We'll be having the name, which is question collection. And what do you want to call this attribute? String you have to pass on. So this one is going to be called as title. Feel free to use. If it is title, what should be the size? Title, I guess, is 100 is good enough. By the way, in case you want to see that what all options are there, you can just anytime click on any attribute and can see string, integer, float, boolean, date, time, email, IP, URL. All these are available. So you can just pick any one of them. Let's just say you pick up string. So you know that attribute key, the size, what should be the default value, is it nullable, required, array, all these options you can just go ahead and provide it there. So just like they are in the order on the website, they're ordered up here as well. So there we go. So we have these DB questions, title 100 is there, and we'll be calling it as true. So there we go, required. Yes, this one is required. And I guess that's it. Yeah, that is it. So this one is my title collection. So what else a question can have? Put up a comma and have a duplicate. That is the best one and the best thing that we can provide. All right, so this one is going to be DB question collection. This one is going to be content, and content should be big. So it's going to be 10,000 because we will be storing markdown inside it. That's why it is required to be a little bit big. We cannot do much into this one. All right, so what else do we have? We will also be keeping an author ID into this one. So we'll be saying this one will also be a string. And DB, we will be having question collection. This one is going to be author ID, who is the author of this one. And we'll be saying this one is probably 50, should be fine. We can just figure out later on this one. And this one is also attribute string. What else we have? Let's just check. And author ID, we have attachment ID as well. We have tags as well. All right, let's go ahead and figure them out one by one. So first of all, this one is going to be tags, and tags 50 is true, and tags could be undefined as well. Let's go ahead and undefined, and we are accepting empty array, so it could be undefined, and array of strings, so we'll be saying true. By the way, you can figure this out just by clicking up here. And if you notice here in the string, there is an array. So we are marking this one as true. Very nice visualization there. All right, what do we have remaining? Attachment ID. All right, let's go ahead and do one more. This is also a attached string attribute, DB collection, and we'll be having tags. This one will be attachment ID, and attachment ID 50. And we'll be saying false. Okay. So there we go. This is our attachment ID, and this is not required. This is a type of string. Everything is a type of string. So that's why we just use this one. All right. So this should be all good. And once this is out up here, we should be able to do a console log here saying question attributes created. All right. Now let me walk you through with the part which we were not able to do, but how you can do it. So we can just leave the code here. And this one is, we have to do it manually. Create index says. We found a little bit of a problem into this one, but I'll walk you through with this one. So again, same goes with here. You have to use await, and then again, there are multiple indexes that we are creating. So we can use promise.all and provide an array for all the fulfillment of the promises. And the way how we do it is simply databases, and then you simply go ahead and use create index. There we go. Just a simple method. And in that you provide all the details that we have been passing so far. So in the DB, we'll be going into questions collection. And once you are inside the question collection, how you want to create the index, just exactly how it's being done in the manual up here, exactly same in there. So indexes, once you click on create index, you first select what do you want to name this index. In this case, I want to name it as, for example, title. All right. What up next? What is the index type? It could be unique or full text search. So you just mention up here index type and put up a dot. Full text search or key or unique. We'll go with the full text search. And then after that, you provide the parameter names on which the attribute name where it is there. So it is tag, title, content, whatever, or this is created at, updated at, whatever you are going for, and then the order of it. So in our case, we can just go ahead and say it like this. So we'll have a title just like this. That's my attribute. And we want it to be ASC. So we'll be going and say like this, and there we go. So this is the first one that you create. And similarly, you can just go ahead and duplicate this, put up a comma, and another index that we want to create is on content so that we can search on it. Content, index type, full text search. This one is content. You just go ahead and try it out. Maybe it works for you. It didn't work for us. So we just actually commented this code. So I'll just leave this code as it is for you. Maybe you want to try it. That's how everybody does. And there we go. So this is the way how you create your collection. And once you know this, this is exactly a copy paste in every single schema that you're working on. Figure out that how many of the indexes or documents you want to work with. Like this is the documents that we have. How many attributes you want to add. In this case, the questions has title, tags, content, author ID, and attachment ID. Then since we were not able to make these things programmatically, we went up here, click on here, added this one. We called this one as index, this one as full text search, this one as title, and this one same, created that, and there we go. Our database is now indexed. It will be helpful for searching. So we created 2 of them manually in the questions. Let me walk you through how we did with the answers as well. So answers, the attributes are simple. There are content, the question ID, and the author ID, who is making these answers and where you are making these answers, and the content, whatever you are writing. Similarly, we have comments as well. So comments are actually comments for the questions. So again, the attributes are pretty simple. We have type, which is enum. I'll walk you through how to do the enum as well. And then content, we are storing that, and the type ID and the author ID. So this is for the comment. By the way, you can just go ahead and work on with more of these. I'll walk you through. And then questions we have already worked through, and votes are exactly same. No other indexing we have done so far. So voted by ID, then we have type ID and the type and the voting status. So this is all what we have done. Now let me go ahead and quickly add rest of these collections as well, because watching me typing is not going to add any value to you. It's just going to add the length of the video. I don't want that. I want you to learn from them. So exactly same thing we'll be copying and pasting. So let me just pause the video and start writing them, and then we'll discuss that what I have written and where I have faced the problem, if any. All right, so I did all the work, and let me walk you through. It's not gonna be like that I will be skipping anything, no. And whole code base will also be available on my GitHub ID so that you can match it and discuss them. And if you have more questions, our Discord is open. We have a dedicated team there to answer a lot of your questions. So let me walk you through with what all we have done. So questions we discussed quite thoroughly in depth, and I showed you what are the problems that we faced. Hopefully you might not face that. If you face, go ahead and manually create those indexes. In the answers collection, it was pretty straightforward, pretty simple, and the things was we were creating a collections, simple permissions for users, read permissions for any, but rest of the CRUD operation for users only. After that, we created the attributes. So we created a string attribute, and string attribute, nothing much. So answers is comprised of content, question ID, and author ID, nothing else, nothing much. In the comment section, there was a new attribute which we haven't discussed together, but it's fairly easy. So we simply go ahead and create these permissions first, super easy. And then we simply go ahead and create attributes, string attribute, super easy, content. Then the new attribute that came for us is create enum attribute. What additionally comes in the enum attribute is an array. That's it, array of strings. And our attribute for the comments can be on the questions or can be on the answer. So we are just adding this answer and question. That's it, nothing else. And then there's a string attribute, exactly same, copy paste. Then the storage collection is little bit different, nothing much, but little bit different. Here we actually get or create a storage. Storage might be already there. So if it is already there, we just go ahead and get the bucket. So we simply say is question attachment, get that bucket. So storage connected. And if the storage is not there, then we try to create it. So we simply say await storage.create bucket, question attachment bucket, and all these names are given. Permissions are given. And then all the details. So in case you have never created any bucket onto this one, simply go ahead and click on the here it is, storage. And when you click on create a bucket, it just asks you all the details and all the settings. So I can show you the settings that we have. So this is our question attachment bucket. And just click up here and there we go. All the settings that we have is up here. So all these permissions exactly same. You can have file security and all these details and all these values. We are allowing the extension of JPG, PNG, and all these things. And this is all. This is all what we have mentioned, all these details up here. So storage is being created just like this, and it is always going to be created like this. So that's the good part. Then comes up is the vote, final one, nothing much, exactly same copy pasted stuff. Votes can be seen by anyone, but CRUD operation can only be performed by the users. And then we simply create an enum. You now know the enum part very well, question or answer. And then we simply says type ID is also enum, means what type of vote it is. Is it upvote or downvote? Then we simply go ahead and simply create an attribute for voted by, who created that vote. And that's it. That's it. Told you, it's really, really simple, nothing to be worried about. Now comes up is the DB setup part. This we'll do together because it's little bit important, but again, nothing much. We are bringing up everything in here and we are just running the functions. That's all what we are doing. So first of all, let's go ahead and import DB from the name so that we can have it. Now, since we have imported so much of this, create answers collection. Then we have import, create comment collection. We have to bring in everything. And we have to import, create question collection. And then we have to import vote. Create vote collection, create vote collection. There we go, nice and easy. We'll also need the database from the configuration. So we'll say that we'll be needing databases from the config. There we go. My own config, not the config from the client. All right, next up is let's go ahead and say export default async simple function, which says get or create DB. That is it. That's it. Now this function will be responsible for calling all of this. So we can just go ahead and first try whether we have already this existence or not. So we can just go ahead and say try catch. In the try part, we will be await and we'll say databases dot get, and if they are able to get the DB. If they are able to get the DB, we'll say that this already exists, and we'll say console log database connected. In case the database is not connected, then we simply go ahead and have to run all of this. Now, while running all of this, there might be cases that things might go wrong again. It's always a good idea, even though we are in the catch block, that wrap up everything inside the catch block as well. Again, let's handle the try part first. So we'll say await, and we'll say databases dot create. And the first step is to create a DB. So we'll say create a DB, comma DB. So there we go. We are creating a database. This technically should be saying database created. The step 1 is to create a database. Database created. All right. Now job is not done. Now we have to create a collection. So we'll say await, and there are so many collections that we are creating. So it's best to wrap it up as promise.all. There we go. Now what we have to do is get all these things. So we'll go one by one. First of all, let's create a questions collection. Then we go ahead and create a answers collection. There we go. And comma. And then we go ahead and create the comment collection. There we go. Execute that. And vote as well. So create vote collection and execute that. All right. So now technically all the collections are being created. I can write it here. Create collections would be good. So there we go. At this point, we should have a console log that collection is being created successfully. Collection created. These console log messages are your best friends. All right. Once this is all done, I think we should have the database connection as well. So should be all good. Console log, and we'll be saying database connected. And if there are errors, we can scroll this. If there are errors, never hesitate to dump down the errors as well. Error creating databases or collection. You figure out where the error is, but we can just go ahead and have the error. There we go. And once we are done with this, in no matter what case we are doing, we are actually returning the databases. There we go. We have an instance of databases which is connected somehow. So there we go. Nice and easy. We have gone through. So this is the whole process of how we actually work through. We haven't used an index, but we'll keep it there. Not bothering us much. But there we go. This is how you create your entire data modeling in the Appwrite using the Next.js or any backend or any similar kind of application that you're using that supports. And the best part is it is exactly same in JavaScript or any other language that you're using. It is exactly same API interface that they gives you. So there we go. This actually sums up our part. We'll be using it definitely. No worries on that part. But this video was whole about how we can have all these things all together. By the way, reach out us on to Discord in case you face any problem, or in case you are new here, comments, don't forget that. That's the important part. Let's go ahead and catch up in the next video.